going on, guys? Welcome back to Elite Shining Show. So I wanted to make a video on paint correction. You really have to understand what it is that's happening to the vehicle when you get a paint correction done. So you want to protect your paint, right? You're looking at your vehicle. Let's say there's a black vehicle and there's a lot of swirl marks on the clear coat, essentially. As long as it's not deep into the paint, it's on the clear coat. So what happens in a paint correction is you're leveling out the clear coat. Okay, really depending on how deep those scratches are and things like that. When you're doing the polishing, the cutting, and all that, you're taking away layers of clear. Okay, you guys need to understand that you're taking away levels of clear. You're not leveling the filling in the scratches. You're leveling out the scratches are in the clear. They're not going to come out. So what you're doing is you're leveling out the scratch. Okay, so if you have a scratch, like this, you're not, when you're using polishing, cutting, and all that, you're not filling it, right, for it to be even, right? What you're doing is you're leveling out the scratch. That's what's happening, right? So let's just say this piece of paper is your clear paint. This is the best paint, perfect, 100%, right? On this is where you can apply coatings because it's going to bond to the paint. It is clean. There's no contaminations or anything like that, right? So when you apply the coating with microfibers, and we'll get into that, anything like that, it's gonna stick and it's gonna bond because it has a smooth surface to bond to. Now, when you have contaminants, let's just say these little blue things here are all the contaminants, right? When you're trying to add these glazes and coats and protectant layers, it's not going to sit right because now you have these elevated pieces of contamination on your paint that's not going to let the sealant or ceramic coating, whatever you end up putting, to bond to the paint. All right, so it may get into these little crevices here, but you're still going to have these elevated parts that aren't, if you were to move them, are not protected underneath those. All right, so that's why we end up doing paint corrections. So first thing you want to do is wash the vehicle. All right, wash the vehicle, take any dirt, grime, any of that stuff off. So the second process is where a lot of detailers will use are clay bars. All right, so there's different grades in a sense. There are some that aren't as harsh and some that are more harsh depending on the amount of contamination on the paint. These are a clay type material. Okay, what you'll end up doing with these is you kind of flatten them out, right? And you will use what, for example, this is called Clay Lube. It's from Chemical Guys, right? So you will spray this on the paint, spray it on the clay bar, and go across the paint, right? You never want this to be dry, never, because that's where it is going to create deeper marring. Marring is scratches, right? Hairline scratches. You may see them, you may not. But I want you guys to understand with claying, it will mar the paint, regardless of how much lubrication, how much you have between the surface of the paint and the clay bar. All right, it is gonna mar it. All right, that's why the next step is the cutting, right? To try and level those out. But there is gonna be marring, all right? But this will take all the contaminants off. What you do is once it starts getting dirty, you crumble it back up, and then smooth it back out, and then continue. All right. So you will want to use some type of lubricant. The bad thing about clay bars is if this falls on the floor, it's done. All right, guys, it's done. It will pick up. It's sticky. It will pick up anything that's on the ground, and you don't want to pick that up. Try to knock some of that stuff off, and then try and put it on your paint, and now you end up with deeper scratches. All right. So these are good. All right, as long as you keep them off the ground, they don't fall on the floor. But it kind of does bring enough. Like if you were to drop it, you know, you'd have another piece that you can go ahead and finish the rest of the vehicle with. So there's different ones that like fine, coarse, and all that stuff depending on how deep the scratches are. But you're gonna need some type of lubricant, right? There's different companies that make it, but the one I've used is Chemical Guys. Now, another alternate is a clay mitt, right? This one's fine. They have ultra fine and I think coarse. So these, for example, if you drop this, you can rinse it off and then continue with your claying. So another good thing about this is you can either use a clay lube, or you once you wash your vehicle, you hose it down again with the foam cannon, and that foam and soap would serve as a lubricant for this. Okay, this is not going to scratch up your paint, guys. This is not going to scratch up your paint. All right, it's not going to mar it like the clay is. Okay, you may have to give it a few more passes depending on how much pressure you apply when you're doing the vehicle, because the clay does pick up a little bit more. So there's personal preference. Okay, you really have to see the status of the paint and what it needs. Okay, so if it needs one that's a little bit more abrasive, go ahead and get that. And like I said, whichever one you guys end up using. So once that is all done, you'll wipe the car down again. Make sure there is no leftover lubricant, right, or anything like that on the paint. Then the next process is the cutting. All right. Depending on how bad they are, the scratches and stuff like that, the swirls, you will either use a green or a orange cutting pad, and then depending on the compound, right? So this is like an all-in-one step. This one is for paint that isn't really as bad. They have other ones that are, these are just happen to be Chemical Guy ones that I have. So you have VR36 cutting compound, and you have VR38 and VR34 and all this. So there's abrasives in all of this stuff, right? There's abrasives in all this stuff. So it all depends on how bad the paint is, depending on which one you're going to use, which one you're going to need, right? So once you do that and like I said, level out the scratches, again, it is going to take away from the clear. You level out the scratches, you are going to have to add some type of protectant, all right? But before you do that, after you've done the wash, the clay, the polishing, before you put any type of sealant, protectant, this is one that I'll talk about real quick, Jet Seal, that I've used before. You're going to want Geon, right? Alcohol base, to take any glazes, anything of the left behind polishing, the left behind clay lube, whatever it is, this will clean it. This will give you a clean adhering surface. Okay, so once you've washed, you've clayed, you've polished, taken the swirl marks, and the paint looks really good, you're like, okay, now because you took that layer off, you have to protect the paint, right? So you can use something like Jet Seal from Chemical Guys. You can put this on with a microfiber pad, or if you have a buffer, you can use a finishing pad, right? A black one, real soft, right? This will go by a lot quicker than this will. You can use either one of those, okay? This is a great product. It'll keep the paint nice and sleek, and it'll protect up to a year, right? Remember what I talked about last video? Everything says up to, and it's all dependent on how you maintain your vehicle. If you wash it often, if you just leave it dirty, you leave it under the trees, all that sap is going to end up eating through all these sealants, right? They're not going to last as long. So this is a great one. But again, the one that's always recommended, the ceramic coatings, Adams, this one's 9+ years up to, all right? But again, it is all dependent on how you maintain your vehicle. So again, with this one, I recommend boosters right? I carry one. It's graphene. This will, in itself, without adding this, right? Let's say you've done this whole process and you add this. This will last from 12 to 18 months, right? Depending again on how you maintain your paint in your vehicle. But whenever you add I'll go ahead and say standalone graphene or ceramic coating, in order for you to get those 9 years out of it, the longevity, you have to maintain it with boosters. Okay, boosters will help the hydrophobic properties. It'll help maintain the hardness of the ceramic coating, and it'll last you a lot longer. Right, so these should always, in my opinion, go together in order to keep your vehicle as protected as possible. So again, real quick, wash, clay, polish, level out those scratches, and because once you're doing that, you're leveling out the scratches and you're polishing and you're cutting, it really does leave your paint vulnerable, right? So that's when you add some type of sealant, jet seal, or you do some type of ceramic coating. All right, so these are maintained. This one's up to 12 months, this one's up to 9 years. So, and then you have the boosters. All right, so hopefully that clears some stuff up for you guys. I am going to do a paint correction on a Volvo probably next weekend. I'll try and film the process and show you guys how it is. So the cutting agents that I'm going to end up using on that vehicle is going to be, it's not going to be an all-in-one, right? It is going to be two different type of products. And I'll show you guys, and then you guys can see kind of the before and after and kind of the during process and see what all that is. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this helped you guys out. If you know anyone that isn't too knowledgeable on detailing, go ahead and I recommend share this info, share the page. That way they can follow it and get updates. I'm trying to make a lot more videos. I think tomorrow I'll make a video on everything I have in my travel detailing bag. And hopefully you guys will enjoy that one. So if you guys got any questions, let me know.